Hello, fellow historians of science. Apologies for not being able to be in class in person today. I have another presentation that's mandatory, so I've sent a virtual me to present in my stead. I'd like to take a moment and show you the extent of these cyber attacks. This site, called Norse, displays cyber attacks in real time on the global scale. It's essentially a threat intelligence network with lots of sensors that detects who the attackers are and what they are after. Pretty amazing stuff. So, there exists an arm race between hackers and industry. To be very specific, it would be industry hackers who are essentially personnel who have hacking skills or are hackers through their mastery of the material and technologies, but have chosen to work for the industry. When a hacker breaks into a system or a line of code, industry hackers respond, which in effect mimics biological evolution and the defense industry. By responding to these breaches and breaks and hacks, what happens is the industry becomes stronger, the lines of code become more secure. So at first glance, the relationship between hackers, especially the ones that are cracking into the systems, seem to be parasitic. But actually, the long-term effect is one that is symbiotic and advances technology. It can be argued from a myopic view that it is money and money alone that motivates cyber criminals and hackers. Some news articles and even medical economics journals have made this assertion. However, hacking culture offers insights into possible motivations of hackers. It's not the trivial material compensations, but rather the challenge, the problem, and the system of access that inspires the hacker. By attempting to hack and demonstrate domination over the system, the hacker is ultimately exercising his or her free will while also sticking it to the man and mastering the relevant technologies. Some do this breaking laws, while others are simply pushing the limits. This can be seen in this quote from the Hacker Manifesto. So most of the histories of hacking that I have come across discuss people who found a way to override directory assistance in certain areas, and they play pranks on people who call in. For instance, they would tell people that their phone number was 8750 and a half, and then they'd ask, do you know how to dial the half? So there is this concept and notion of the cyberpunk. But these pranks really necessitate a closer look, because what these pranks are really doing is messing with the relationships that people have with each other and with technology themselves. So hackers really kind of understand that there is this divide between people and the technologies that they use, which really equals vulnerabilities. So in light of healthcare attacks, cyber criminals have really found a way to leverage this. So my research into hacking has made me think about how hackers engage with technology and actually how normal people also engage with technology. So I found this very interesting quote, quote unquote, hackers perform technology by enacting and exploiting the fundamental contradictions and relationships that people have to technology and to each other. Now this is very interesting because hackers are hacking into these electronic healthcare records. But who and what are these electronic healthcare records? Well, it's very interesting from a Durkheimian sense that it is people as a whole who have given medical establishments a considerable amount of power. They've trusted these medical establishments to safeguard their personal and intimate medical files, as well as their personal information, and to treat them with a lot of respect and care, and so on. So at the end of the day, these medical records are in many ways, covering very mundane things, but because so many people have kind of bought into this, and maybe not knowingly so, this is like a kind of like a religious phenomenon. And so at the end of the day, it is people who have given authority to these medical establishments and the technology that the medical establishment chooses to use. Now, these hackers are aware of this very vulnerable kind of relationship. Well, how do people engage with electronic health records? Well, there is this implied or passive consent that when a person goes into a hospital, that the hospital is going to document them, and they will document them as efficiently and effectively as possible. And if a hospital chooses to use an electronic healthcare recording system, then that's that. So at the end of the day, these electronic healthcare records really capture the most intimate and the most important parts of a human being. So one final consideration and an argument that I am developing is really the exploration of the criminality of the hacker. So the hacker is, not all hackers are cyber criminals, of course. Some hackers are just mastering programming and computing. But the hackers that really do crack and break into systems and steal or hold on to data files are by law criminals. But this criminality is not an ordinary type of criminality. Often in films, hackers are portrayed much like the real life ethic of hackers, in that they aren't really working for a huge personal financial gain, but rather are doing it to be a rebel and to really be a prankish trickster of a character. There's a little personal amusement that goes into it. Also, just demonstrating mastery over the environment, and also getting clout from getting recognition from other hackers. This can be seen in the very modest sum that one Hollywood healthcare system was held ransom for. It was for $17,000, which was paid off. And the cyber criminals could have held the hospital for ransom for a much larger sum and probably would have gotten paid off. But this modest sum kind of is evidence that really they are not in it solely for the money. One final discussion that I'm developing from interviews with doctors and physicians is that in the process of going from paper records to digitized health records, most doctors and physicians didn't have that large of a say in it. It's just that the industry seemed to be shifting towards the digitization. So this is another way to say that the doctors and the healthcare professionals didn't have that much agency, and just the juggernaut of technology itself just kept moving. And despite the vulnerabilities, the industry has been moving towards digitized healthcare records, which is very interesting. In class, we had a discussion about the philosophy of technology where we discussed Marshall McLuhan's tetrad. We discussed how technology or medium does four things: enhances, reverses, retrieves, and obsolesces. Going back to the idea of the arms race, historians can posit two things. The first is that the enhancement is greater than the reversal. Otherwise, we wouldn't use this technology. And number two, there exists a relationship between the enhancement and the reversal. When it comes to hacking and computers, there's a constant developmental pressure applied by hackers, both negative and positive, that ultimately results in the current state of affairs and technology that we have today.